What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Today I'm talking about the new Stone Temple Pilots album. Well, actually, it's self-titled. Well, Stone Temple Pilots are back. This is their 7th studio album, the first one since the last self-titled album, which featured Scott Weiland on vocals. This marks the first album following the tragic deaths of both Scott Weiland and Chester Bennington. The band had brought Bennington in for a quick EP and some tour dates before he ultimately went back to focus on Linkin Park. That EP didn't really catch my attention all that much, so going into this album, especially knowing it was the first with a brand new singer, Jeff Gutt, who actually appeared on The X Factor, I wasn't sure what we could expect from the band here. Though it may seem kind of strange that they've had 2 self-titled records in a row, I feel like it makes sense, because once again the band sort of finds themselves in rebirth mode. And honestly, following the untimely deaths of 2 lead singers, it really is a triumph in and of itself that this album came out at all. But how does the music itself sound? Surprisingly, for me, I actually enjoy this album quite a lot. I think it's pretty solid throughout. Jeff Gutt, the new singer, definitely channels Weiland on here, sounding more like the later STP stuff or even Velvet Revolver, the way Weiland would sing on those, sort of a lighter tone. But ultimately, at times, he shows that he has a voice of his own, especially in a few instances where you see the band pushing their sound a bit to a more bluesy approach. Tracks such as the opener Middle of Nowhere or Never Enough have a rock and roll blues kind of vibe to them. The opener in particular is actually pretty reminiscent of the first Velvet Revolver record for me, which is interesting because Weiland was in that band, these guys weren't, but with the way Jeff Gutt sings and sort of that rock and roll energy, it just kind of feels like that. This track really gets things off to an energetic start. And as I mentioned, the song Never Enough has a sort of slower kind of groove to it. You hear Gutt almost channeling Jim Morrison in a way. And to me, this shows that this new version of the band has something sort of different to offer. There are a lot of big hooks on this album. I don't know, how involved he was in the writing process, but it seems like Jeff Gutt has a big ear for melody on here. The track Meadow is a groovy, driving rock song that really hits you during that chorus. You think kind of like sex type thing throughout the verses, but with an arena-sized chorus added to it. Gutt can really belt it out on here. If you haven't, I would actually recommend checking out some of those X Factor performances. He really commands the stage on there. He does classics such as Bohemian Rhapsody and seems to, do a really good job with it. The second track, Guilty, utilizes a similar kind of structure as Meadow. Just a really nice driving track and another solid hook going on in the chorus. Towards the middle of the album, we have another big rocker. It's called 6-8. The verses employ this trippy kind of psychedelic vibe that really winds down and around Gutt's vocals. It's a pretty cool effect, before exploding back into a high-octane chorus. Gutt's sort of soaring vocals on here really add to the energy of the track. And the same can be said about Roll Me Under, which is possibly my favorite on the album. The verses really build up the anticipation for what is ultimately another really huge hard-rocking chorus. The chorus here is probably one of the more memorable moments on the album, the Roll Me Under. Just a really awesome moment. With that being said, if I did have an issue with this album, it's more so the fact that I feel that there doesn't seem to be a huge standout song on here. Roll Me Under is probably my favorite, but there's nothing that would make me think it's like a big, glaring hit. Ultimately, I feel like you have a pretty solid and consistent album here, but like I said, there's no huge standout moment. Maybe time will tell, but I'm not feeling like a plush on here. I'm not feeling like a huge hit for them, which is honestly something that I could say about that previous self-titled record as well. I thought it was, fairly solid, but, nothing really over the top, really great on it. Apart from the hard-rocking tracks, you do have some pretty great softer moments as well. I think STP does a pretty good job with ballads. My personal favorite out of the softer songs would be the song Finest Hour, which has some really great guitar work going on, and some of my favorite vocals from Gutt on the album. There's a lot of emotion in his voice here, once again, sort of channeling Weiland in a way. This one reminds me of Dare If You Dare off the last self-titled record, or maybe Glide off of their 4th album, both songs that I really do enjoy. And the closing track, Reds and Blues, has a lot of these qualities going on for it as well. You have this sweeping, flowing guitar work paired with another solid performance from Gutt. As far as kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, they have those bluesier moments on the album. There are also some, kind of jazzy, kind of free-flowing guitar lines in some of these softer songs, which I thought was pretty cool, and it all works pretty well for me. Overall, like I said though, this album definitely works for me. I do like it. I like Gutt as a vocalist. My main issue, like I said, is probably the fact that there doesn't seem to be a big standout track or two on here. They all kind of just, get by pretty enjoyably. The closest probably being Roll Me Under. Meadow's a good track as well. 6/8 and like I said, Finest Hour is probably another one of my favorites. Overall, though, much better than I had anticipated here. I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I'm interested to see where the band goes in the future with Jeff Gutt at the helm. I think he can eventually move away from the Wyland type sound a little bit. I mean, I do like it, he does it well, but he's got a nice, unique style, and he could certainly belt it out, so I'd like to see them push that even more in the future, put that more on display, more at the forefront, and maybe continue changing up the sound a little bit. You get little glimpses here and there on this one. So yeah, overall, I'm thinking 3.5 out of 5 for this one. Let me know what you think of the album, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, and thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.